Hi there, my name is Nikki, and I made bread this semester, specifically gluten-free bread. I worked with my friend Ainsley McGee, and she loves making bread. Now, she enjoys making regular bread, but has made me gluten-free bread in the past with her bread machine. So, I did purchase a bread maker for this project because I figured if I'm going to learn how to make this, I want to continue to do this after I've learned. Ainsley and I first made regular bread in the oven, which I did not consume. I'm sure it was great. She enjoyed it. She gave it to her friends. But she did a lot of research and told me which supplies I needed to buy, and I went and bought that. She also mentioned that we would have a difficult time getting it to rise, which I did know would be true because I have made like cookies in the past and they didn't rise. So I had to buy gluten-free powder with the xanthan gum, I think I said that right, xanthan gum already mixed into it, and there was a certain setting on my bread maker that would allow it for it to rise properly. And the bread machine does have the gluten-free setting. Now, in terms of feedback that I was given from Ainsley, she said to make sure that I let the bread rest enough before allowing it to bake, which is an extremely important part of the process of bread making. If you don't allow for your bread to rest, then it won't rise. And one thing that you do when you're making that happen is you put a little hole in it, and that's when you pour the powder in. This process is related to leadership because you cannot sometimes push people too hard when working with others within leadership, and when you push people too hard, sometimes it can cause them to be burnt out or disinterested. And for me personally, hanging out with my friend and doing this at the same time was a lot of fun, and it was hard to feel burnt out from making bread. Okay, so I'm making gluten-free bread, and the only bread I have made, which I did not document, was regular bread in an oven. So I have a bread machine where it kneaded it and is letting it rise, and I'm going to make my first loaf in the machine. Okay, so I made a cinnamon raisin gluten-free loaf. I have noticed that when I make gluten-free bread, it does not rise like normal bread because I have my other gluten. So you can see that it is not super big, but the flavor is there. In terms of relating this to things that we have discussed within this class, I first relate this situation to my values. First, orderliness. I enjoy following rules, and with these recipes to make bread, I have to follow these directions in order for my bread to come out correctly. I plan with purpose, and I like to solve problems step by step. I am gluten-free, so sometimes being gluten-free, I look at it as a problem because sometimes I feel like it makes other people, it's a disadvantage for myself. But also it can be difficult for other people to accommodate. So learning to make bread, honestly, I can accommodate to myself. In terms of emotional intelligence, I'm a self-manager, so I always try to complete everything correctly and promptly with a good attitude. And relating this back to my top 5 strengths, I'm an activator. I always try to make things happen, and I love to do a job right. So doing this job right was super important to me. And if it wasn't done right, I wouldn't have bread. Well, I would have flat bread, but I had doughy bread. When looking back at this experience, I feel that my creativity blossomed in terms of resilience muscles. I was able to make decisions on what type of bread I wanted to make, and on the first bread that we made, I was able to make designs on it so that when it rose in the oven, you could see the designs. And I originally posted that on my first discussion post, but unfortunately with the gluten-free bread, I did not have any luck doing the designs, but that's a part of the process, a part of the learning process. Um, I had the freedom also to make regular bread and cinnamon raisin bread, which in the clips that I showed, you can see that I have regular bread and I have cinnamon raisin bread. Lastly, in terms of some of the content that we've discussed, my Myers-Briggs type indicator is ENFJT. I am extroverted, so spending this time with my friend was super important to me, and it made the experience 10 times better. Whether it was at her apartment or my apartment, it was still making bread and hanging out, which I thoroughly enjoyed. And I mean, I learned a new hobby, which is super cool. Overall, I learned so much about myself. I didn't think I would enjoy making bread so much because when cooking with family, it can sometimes get stressful. But with a friend, it's a lot better. I had to think a bit more, and I couldn't just take breaks when I got bored or pass it on to my sister. I had to start the project and finish the project. And I also had to be able to receive feedback and respond to feedback during this process. I also learned that I can make a pretty great gluten-free bread, so if you're ever looking for a gluten-free bread, let me know. I'm happy to make you some. Or even regular bread. I feel like I'm pretty good at that too. You can also get designs on the regular bread. I feel that I will be taking this experience with me because I think that trying new things that you might not have had the highest expectations for, but still giving it your all and enjoying the experience, even if it's something that you might not really care about. I mean, I have learned to adjust to not eating bread, so the idea of making bread was kind of like, but I think that I found my new favorite hobby, and I literally told myself that from here on out, I think I'm going to try to make myself bread every week or so that I can enjoy different types of bread, because it's been 9 years since I was able to enjoy regular, like, bread. I mean, it's not regular bread, but I'm able to enjoy it, and I worked on it, so it's even better. And I also told my mom in the process of this, I said, I think I'm going to be that person that gifts bread at Christmas time. So in terms of leadership, I've learned that when I try something new, I want to talk about it and I want to pass the knowledge on to other individuals. I used to be not too interested in it, but after this experience, I was sharing my tips with my family and friends, and also sharing the bread that I baked with my family who's gluten-free and also my family who's not gluten-free. Overall, I had a great time with this project, and I look forward to continuing to make bread.